The reason why I'm buying Polkadot's native token called DOT over Ethereum is very simple. It's because, first of all, I believe that Polkadot has way better fundamentals. And also on top of that, I believe that DOT just has a lot more room to grow at this point. And even though nothing I say is financial advice nor a guarantee, just hear me out, because I don't think it's as crazy as what some people may think. For instance, right, if DOT were to go to the price of $150 during this bull run, that would be around a $225 billion market cap, considering current circulating supply. And that, by the way, isn't insane, because it's actually around a 30x from here, and that market cap is over, $300 billion less than Ethereum's all-time high market cap. So yeah, it's not too much to ask for. Now, on the flip side, if let's say Ethereum were to do a 30x from here, market cap would be nearly $10 trillion, considering current circulating supply, which is kind of insane, because you take a look at the GDP of the UK, back in 2022 was around $3 trillion. The GDP of Canada, also that year was around $2 trillion. So yeah, this is kind of a lot. And also on top of that, you take a look at the price at that point would be nearly $81,000. Now, this is insane, because can Ethereum reach the price of $10,000 during this bull run? I hypothetically think so. So I don't think Ethereum is going to do caca or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I think Ethereum is going to do okay, but I think DOT is going to do better. I think it's going to do amazing, because if I take a look at it, right, even as a worst case scenario, what's more likely to do over, let's say, a 10x during this bull run? I think hands down it's DOT. Market cap would still be very realistic at that point, wouldn't be too outlandish, and Polkadot, even though it's not a small project by any means, I still think that it has a lot more hypothetical room for growth as compared to something like Ethereum, which I think is pretty much a dinosaur. And you got to think about how Ethereum, it's kind of antiquated for what it is, because people like to praise it for being the best layer 1 blockchain out there. But I think what they mean to say is that it's the layer 1 blockchain with the most fans, the most hype, and a very good diversity of projects. I think that's what they mean. But I think in terms of fundamentals, it's not really there if you remove all those aspects, because first of all, what do we know about Ethereum? Sky-high gas fees. I mean, we all know that, right? It's kind of caca if you think about it. Now, also on top of that, you take a look at arguable scalability issues. That's complete nonsense. Now, of course, there is somewhat of a cure for this, because there are Ethereum layer 2s out there that quite essentially combats this nonsense, while at the same time allowing it for it to be enjoyed quite essentially. But if you actually take a look at it, Ethereum, just at its core, isn't really that amazing as a layer 1 blockchain. At least that's the way I view it. If you take a look at Polkadot, now Polkadot is a little bit different than Ethereum in a sense that it's focused on connecting blockchains together. Now, what do I mean by this? A lot of blockchains out there, a lot of networks, yeah, sure, they exist, but most of them lack something called interoperability, meaning that they can't freely send data and value to each other, again, for the most part. Now, even if you take a look at a very popular example of this, it's of course something like Ethereum and as well as Bitcoin. Now, why is that? If you take a look at Ethereum and Bitcoin, they're both independent of one another. And as a result, they can't freely send data and value to each other, which of course is a very caca nonsense. I mean, just think about this, right? Let's say we use a real-life hypothetical analogy for something like this. For instance, let's say I'm using Wells Fargo and I want to wire transfer something to my friend, right? That's using Bank of America. Imagine if that wasn't a possibility. Wouldn't that be so bad? But of course, we're able to do that in real life, so that doesn't exist. But imagine if it did. Again, it would be so horrible, right? But if you actually take a look at it in the world of blockchain technology, when it comes to just blockchains in general, I should say, this is still a big issue. A lot of blockchains, they can't freely interact with one another. They can't, again, freely send data and value to each other, which is complete caca nonsense. So that's where something like Polkadot steps in. They're focused on interoperability. They're focused on connecting blockchains together. So you could only imagine just how special Polkadot is. And there's going to be more blockchains to come in the future. You got to think about that. It doesn't end right now. It's still just started, in my opinion, the world of blockchain technology. So again, really, if you think about it, the future of Polkadot could look so amazing. Now, also on top of that, the cherry on top, I should say, the salt bait, or I should say the icing on the cake, I should say, right, is the fact that Polkadot has quite essentially a support system. Now, what do I mean by that? We take a look at Kusama. Now, Kusama, a lot of people refer to it as the little brother to Polkadot, and that makes sense in some cases. They call it the sidekick, but I think this is a genius addition, because usually projects that want to launch on Polkadot, they typically will launch on Kusama first. And the reason for that is because it's usually a lot cheaper to rent building space on Kusama, and it's also usually a lot easier as well to make changes on Kusama as compared to Polkadot. So imagine if someone is making a project, they may not have the resources, they may not have, again, the capacity to jump straight onto Polkadot. They can quite essentially use Kusama as a testing ground to kind of, test out the water, so to speak. It's like going to the gym and getting a free trial, if that makes sense. You get to enjoy it, you get to see it, and if you like it, then you can get the gym membership. It's kind of like that when it comes to Kusama. It's a way for the project to test it out, and then if they like it, they can later on move on to Polkadot. But granted, they don't have to move on to Polkadot later on if they don't want to. They can still stay in Kusama. For instance, you take a look at Moonriver. Very amazing, very popular project on Kusama. But even besides that, again, it's still good nonetheless, because giving a testing ground for something like Polkadot, that's so genius. That can potentially attract better quality projects, better developers, and that's what I really love about it, right? Imagine if they only had Polkadot, then the pool of talent probably wouldn't be as high as opposed to having a testing ground much like Kusama. So that's amazing, in my opinion. If I take a look at Polkadot, isn't it pretty much fantastic? There is a reason why it's already done very well. But I think, again, its native token called DOT still has a ways to prove, because $150 isn't crazy. Again, considering current circulating supply, just like I mentioned earlier on the video, at that point, market cap would be around $225 billion, which isn't insane. Again, over $300 billion less than Ethereum's all-time high market cap. And with everything I just said, is $150 really all that, ridiculous with something as amazing as Polkadot? No, I don't think so, right? I don't think it's ridiculous at all. Especially when you consider how, as of right now, there's over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research. That's more than ever before in history. So you could only imagine the FOMO, the buying pressure, the buying volume can be through the roof. Also, the Bitcoin ETF, the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption when it comes to Bitcoin. It's just fantastic. So with that combined with the amount of crypto owners, Bitcoin can't go to at least under $50,000 during this bull run. I think hypothetically easy peasy. Now, it's going to take some time though, because you take a look at, usually as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they have been known to peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, granted, the Bitcoin halving event happened back in April, so 18 months is actually October of next year. Now, could it happen sooner? Yes, we're seeing good signs of, altcoins just having a recovery. Also Bitcoin, right? Reached a new all-time high this year, had a massive pullback, then now it's having a good recovery. But even despite that, again, could things turn around for the better a lot sooner? Yes, but even as a worst-case scenario, let's say around 18 months, again, after a Bitcoin halving event, which is October of next year, basically near the end of 2025, even despite that, I am prepared because I am dollar cost averaging. So anytime an income, I'm acquiring, I'm holding, and I'm just waiting. That's it. I am not a day trader. I am not using leverage. I'm not swing trading. I'm not doing any of that type of stuff. I like to keep things simple. So if it happens earlier, great. Happens a little bit later, fine. More time for me to accumulate. And again, why would I acquire any Ethereum? Some people out there, they like to say that, yeah, we're all in on Ethereum. We're all in on Bitcoin, for instance, but I just don't get it. A lot of people out there, granted, many cases, right? Or should I say in some cases, when they say this, they have already a lot. Like some have like millions of dollars. So if they get like a 3x, that's great for them. They're already going to Sizzler, time to go to Chili's, Applebee's, whatever the case may be. But then if someone has way less than that, is it really logical to go all in on Bitcoin or Ethereum? I don't really know about that. At least that's just the way I view it. That's why if I only had one shot, quite essentially, right, to put all my eggs into one basket for this bull run, and I only had two options, DOT or Ethereum, hands down, I'm choosing DOT. Why would I choose ETH, right? Makes no sense to me. At least that's the way I view it. I'm in the world of cryptocurrencies to get hypothetical gains. I'm not looking to get into random dinosaurs that pretty much kind of antiquated. If I got an Ethereum like years ago, that's fine. I actually would love that. But as of right now, I'm looking for something that has much more room for growth. And I believe that hypothetically is DOT because, again, at the price of $150 during this bull run, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And again, especially with all those factors taken into consideration, the bull run potentially being that amazing, the purpose and goal of Polkadot, all that good stuff. Again, under $50 for DOT wouldn't be insane. I don't think Ethereum's going to do bad though, but really at above $10,000, I just don't see it really happening for Ethereum during this bull run. I think DOT, hypothetically, $150, very realistic, around a 30x from here. That's the winner here for me. A no-brainer pick for me. I'm extremely bullish on Polkadot. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.